This video is going to cover the networking and communications lab number 2, which is going to use one wire and LoRa. The tasks that we have to complete here are to install an updated USB to serial driver. We're going to update the Arduino software that's already installed. We're going to install the ESP boards and install libraries. Then we're going to run some pre-made programs and upload them to our ESP board. We're going to run a program to get the IP addresses of our one-wire temperature sensor. Once we have that address, we're going to copy it to the second program, which simply addresses that sensor and reads the temperature. And then we're going to also have to copy that and to the third program, which is actually going to transmit it out via the LoRa transmitter on the ESP board. And then we're also going to display others. The board we're going to use for this video is the Heltec ESP32 board. It has a built-in LoRa Wi-Fi and built-in OLED display. This is version 2 of the board, so the programs are written for version 2. If you're using a different version, you will have to modify the programs. So the first thing we need to do is update the USB to serial or USB to UART driver. So we're going to type go to our Windows search and type DEV to select the device manager. This will upload the device manager, and we're going to find under other devices the USB to UART. We're going to do right click and update this driver. Now we should already have the driver saved on our D drive, so we're going to browse my computer for drivers and type in D:\Arduino, and that's where the driver should be, and it should find it in there and install it. So now you see that we have under ports, we have a Silicon Labs USB to UART, which is a COM4. So this is what we're looking for. It may be a COM3 or COM4, but you need to look at this and figure out which COM port they gave you. And you'll need to select that when you want to use your serial monitor later on. So now we're going to start our Arduino software. So if you hit the Windows key and type in ARD, it should pull up Arduino and select that app. And the one installed on the computers right now is 2.11, and it's not the latest, so when you start it, it'll come up and ask you if you want to do the update. Now you don't actually have to do the update. The lab should work with either one, but if you want to, you just go ahead and click on download, and it will download and run through the update. So here I have the Arduino IDE running, and this is actually just the one installed, 2.11. Again, it's not that important to install the update, but what we want to do is select the board manager. So I'm going to come over here and select the board's manager, and I'm going to type in ESP to find the board, and I'm going to scroll down and find the ESP32 by Espressif. This is the one that we need installed for our Heltec ESP32 board. So we're going to just install this. It'll just take a few minutes. It'll download the files needed and actually install. Alright, so I had to actually reboot, so I'm updating the driver again and just going through the setup, D:\Arduino, it'll search, find that driver, and so now notice that it says COM3. So when you look at the file, it said COM3. Okay, so now we're going to go to the D drive, and we're going to go to D drive Arduino, under examples. So now I'm going to go to Tools, Port, and select COM port 3. Okay, so again, I've had to reboot, so it's given me COM port 3. Then I'm going to go to Board, go back up to Tools, Board, and I'm going to select the ESP32, and we're looking for the Heltec board. And so we're scroll down, it's not in alphabetical order, but what we're looking for is version 2 of that. Okay, so again, it's the Heltec Wi-Fi LoRa 32 version 2 board. So that's the board that we need to select. So we can see there that it now says that we have that board. Okay. The other thing we need to do is select our frequency. So we need to go to the LoRa region, and remember that the region is the US 915 is the frequency for the United States. And again, I'm just double checking the port there, and you can see there was a get info from the board, and this actually just submits or pops up a window, and it doesn't actually give us any detailed information about this board using the get info. Alright, so now we're going to open our file, and again we're going to D:\Arduino, and we're going to go under examples, and under there are the 3 different programs that we need. So the first one we'll have to run is the get addresses to actually read the one wire and get its address, the one wire temperature sensor, and get its 64-bit address. Once we have that, we'll upload the get temperature, and we'll have to copy that address and put it in this file. And then we'll also, after that, we'll actually get to sending the data, and don't forget to copy that address again. Okay, so now I'm just selecting get addresses, and it will upload that file, and the board and everything should still be what we set it to. So I'm going to close that other window, and here there's a couple of things that we want to look at. One of them is this serial baud rate. Alright, so remember we discussed the baud rates, and the serial baud rate that we're going to be using is 115/200. And so we'll have to set that when we set our serial monitor to make sure. So if we don't have that set correctly, we'll be getting data, but the data will be garbled. The next thing we're just going to double check here is the one wire setting. Okay, so this one wire is a library, and so we'll have to install the libraries. I'll go over that in just a minute. But DS13, the DS is the Dallas Semiconductor, which is part of this library, but we're going to use pin 13 out of our ESP32. Now pin 13 is the actual pin out of the board. However, that is actually general purpose I/O port number 4 of the chip. So the semiconductor chip, which is soldered onto our board, where it's port 4, pin 4 of the chip, is actually wired to pin 13 of our ESP32 single board computer module. So the pin that we're going to wire is 13, so that's why that is there. Okay, so now we're going to have to go to the library. So we're going to come over here to the libraries, and I'm going to type in Dallas. We'll type in Heltec. We're going to have to install the Heltec drivers so we can so the display stuff will work. So I'm going to install that first here. Okay. So just click on install. It'll download that and install that library. Just takes less than a minute there. And then I'm going to type in Dallas for the one wire sensor that we're using. It's a Dallas semiconductor sensor. So I'm going to type in Dallas, and we're looking for the Dallas temperature DS18B20. And as you can see here, it pops up and it says, well, wait a minute, you also need one wire for this to work. So we're going to just go ahead and click install, and it'll install all the dependencies that are required for that Dallas semiconductor temperature. So we have to make sure we have these libraries installed, or if we try to compile the program, it will fail. Alright, so once we've got those libraries installed, I'm just double checking my serial port, and so now I'm going to come down and you see serial monitor here. So we're going to select the serial monitor, and now what you see here is we're getting a lot of junk. This is because the board is actually already plugged in. Our ESP32 board is already plugged into the computer, and it's actually running a program right now that is trying to write to the serial monitor. However, the baud rate is incorrect. So what we have to do here is we're going to have to adjust the baud rate. Once we adjust the baud rate, you can see this junk, this confused information actually is sending information out. Okay, so that's the information that our board is sending back to the serial monitor through that USB to serial connection. Okay. So again, we need to make sure that those match so that the information is readable. Now I'm uploading, so I came up here and I clicked on this right arrow up here which said upload, and the first thing it's going to do is compile the program, which is our get address program. We're going to compile this program, and then it's going to upload it from the PC to the ESP32 board. Okay, so they call that uploading. Sometimes I like to call that download because PLCs refer to it as downloading, but in the Arduino IDE here they actually use the term upload. So it's going from your PC uploading to the remote board. That's their terminology. So once it's done compiling and checking for syntax errors, it now is writing it to that, and now it's running. Alright, and so you can see here it's reading this address, and this address is that 64-bit. Remember, 64 bits is 8 bytes, so these are hex values. There's 8 of them, and it's just this program just queries the one-wire bus for all the devices on it, which we only have one plugged in, and it just gives us that address. So you see this hex 28, hex C3, hex CA, hex 81, hex E3, hex 4A, hex 3C. These are the addresses. These are the bits for that 64-bit address for the sensor on this particular board. Now, unless you've got this board, your numbers are going to be different. But what I'm doing, I highlighted this, and I'm going to Control-C to copy this, and then I'm going to open the next program and save this. Okay, so I'm done with this program. I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to go back to my D drive, and I'm going to run the get temperature. So D drive, Arduino examples, get temperature. So now I'm going to load up this temperature. However, for this to work, I have to copy in my address. Okay, now this one I can just close, and I'm going to the get temperature, and I'm going to run the device address. Sensor 1, so if you see here, so this is sensor 1, it's for the first temperature sensor, and there's 3 lines of it here, but you see that lines 16 and 17 they have forward slashes and they're grayed out. The forward slashes means it's a comment, so it's not part of the program. So you really only want one line of these, although it doesn't matter if these were even uncommented, because they're basically just going to overwrite, and the last one's going to be the address that you get. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in that stuff that I copied, which I ended up having a couple of lines copied. So I'm going to clean it up here and just copy those 8 bytes and paste them in there, the new values, and then I'm just going to clean up the rest of this that was pasted in there. So I'm just typing clean up here just to remind me. I just clean that up so that that's there. Now notice the syntax here. You have a curly brace, and a left curly brace here and a right curly brace. You have your 8 bytes, and then there's a semicolon at the end. All of this syntax is very critical that you have this correct. So now I'm going to open my serial monitor, and right now you see it's actually, because it's still running the other program. Okay, so the ESP32 is still plugged in and it's still running the other program, which was just printing out the address. And so that's why you can see this as soon as I open up the serial monitor. It's still dumping out the addresses. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to upload and just resizing the window here a little bit, but I'm going to click on upload. And I was just looking at the file here a minute, but I'm going to click on upload, double checking my port and my frequency, and then I'm clicking on upload, and I'm going to upload the sketch. So the first thing, again, it's compiling. Now it's compiling using this new address I just pasted in here. So it's compiling this script, checking it. Alright, and then what it's going to do is it's going to print through to that serial port the temperature. So it runs this is from the library, the sensors.getTempF is from that Dallas library that we installed. And so it's going to run that and get that temperature and send it to the serial port so we can see what the temperature is. Alright, so I'm running that, and it compiled, and now it's downloading it to the ESP, and now you see it switched from sending out that address to sending out the temperature. So it's just reading the temperature and sending it out, about once every half second here. So you can see that the room temperature right now is about 72.5 degrees. And this program just sits there and runs and dumps out the temperature every half second, or yeah, the delay, I see the delay right here on line 35, that's 500 milliseconds, or 1/2 of a second. And so that's why it's printing out so fast, because of that delay. So this is a loop function here. It runs through printing out, it's requesting the temperature from the sensor, and then it sends that temperature, formatting it as a Fahrenheit, get temp F as Fahrenheit, and just prints that temperature out. Over and over again. I've got it paused at the moment, but if I unpause it, you can see it just dumping that temperature. Okay. So notice again the temperature is 72 degrees, or almost 73 degrees there, and it fluctuates just a little bit. Okay, but basically about 72.6 degrees at the moment. So now we're ready to send this through the LoRa to our neighbors' boards. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to File, and I'm going to go to Open, and go back to D:\Arduino. See, it's selected in there. I select that, go to Examples, and I'm going to select the OLED LoRa Receiver Sender, and the letter C there is the address here. We'll see once this opens. So we'll let this open, And so as we discussed with like Ethernet, right, when you send data and receive data, you need to have like some sort of address. And so what I've set up with this program here is the address is just going to be a letter. All right, so I'm just going to close this, the get temperature window. And here's my LoRa receiver sender. And so there's a couple things I just want to look at in this file. So I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit. And yeah, let's scroll down and look at the temperature now. Or not temperature, look at the device letter, sorry. So the device letter here, everybody should have a different letter. All right, and so it makes a difference here whether it's capital or lowercase a. And so, and then down here, right here on lines 80, 81, and 82. Now we only have a little display, so there's not much room. So what we're going to do is display our temperatures of our neighbors there. So work with your neighbor and get their letter. So we'll have, everybody will have a unique letter. And this, inside of this if statement, it says on line 80 here, it says if packet.char at 0 is equal to A, and then 81 says B or C. Inside of these single quotes, that's what we're looking for. And so if your neighbor has the letter F and you want to display theirs, you can put it in the first row, second row, or third row by just replacing, you know, if you're going to put it in the first row, you replace the A with a capital F, and so on for each person. So again, there's only room on the display to put about 3 temperatures, so that's at lines 80, 81, and 82. Now don't change A equals packet or B equals packet. Only change the letter inside the single quotes here. And this is just setting up our address so that our LoRa is actually going to receive all the packets that are being sent around the room, but we can't display them all. So this 80, 81, 82 is deciding which ones are going to display. So we put those letters right there. Now notice this double equal signs. That is not a typo. That is required. The double equals is a comparison as opposed to assignment. So here inside the if, we're comparing this letter that came through the LoRa communications to the letter A. Over here in the curly brackets we have A equals packet. That's called an assignment, where the packet is being shoved into a string A. So these are 2 different A's here, meaning 2 different things. Alright, now when you look at this address here, this is actually the old address. It's not the one that we just read before, so make a note of that. So I'm going to go to upload. Alright, so notice here that my sensor 1 address is still the old address. And so I haven't changed the address, and I'm going to go up here and do an upload. Okay, so if you notice up here when I hover right there, it says upload. Okay, and so I click on that and it goes through the compilation, and it's going to compile and download. Now if it doesn't compile, if it throws an error, it's because you made a mistake when you were making a change. So you have to go back and check and make sure your semicolons and everything are in place. Now it's actually downloading the file. So I'm downloading the file to the ESP, and now it's actually running. Now we don't see anything because I haven't opened the serial monitor in this, but if you look at the display, you should actually see something showing on the display, because I didn't get any errors, so the program is running. So now I'm going to open up the serial monitor here, And so I open up the serial monitor, and if you look at the temperature, you see the temperature is wrong. I'm getting temperature of minus 196, minus 196 Fahrenheit. That is because I did not change my address. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go back and get my address that I had before. So I'm opening up the, actually I need to open up the get temperature address here. So I need to go back and get the temperature address and copy that line. So I'm going to open up get temperature, and I'm going to find that sensor 1 address, and I'm just going to copy that entire line. There it is. So I'm going to copy this entire line here, and I'm going to paste it over here into this. You should find that line near the top. There it is. And I'm just going to replace that entire line with my address, and then I'm going to re-upload this. And so as I re-upload this here, it's going to go through the compilation again to make sure I didn't make any syntax errors, and then download it or upload it. Again, their syntax is uploading. So we're going to upload that, and now you see it's reading 72.6, 72.7. Alright, so we're reading the correct temperature now. So if you get like some sort of weird negative temperature, then there's an error. Now what you also see is packets sent. These packets sent, that is us transmitting that temperature over to everybody else in the room. So we're transmitting through that LoRa wireless our temperature. Okay, so if you look at what we're actually transmitting the temperature, and we're sent our device letter. So it's actually device letter A, and so that is what it's sending there.